Hey guys, Jara here. I just returned from evacuating. We decided to evacuate for Milton, and I just arrived back home about 2 hours ago. So I did a real quick walkthrough through the garden, but a lot of you said you were interested in kind of seeing, I guess, the damage and I guess walk around with me as I assess everything, and then I'll also kind of just explain maybe some tips and stuff for getting the garden back up and running and thriving again. Maybe some tips that'll help you, just help your plants recover a little bit faster. And I'll just answer some questions and we'll just chit chat a little bit about gardening. So if you have a question, please put your garden zone and your state so I can kind of answer it the best to my abilities. And this garden live is very random. Sometimes I have things scheduled out with a defined, topic that we're going to discuss. And sometimes I just feel like going live, chit-chatting with you guys. So this is one of those. So I hope you all made it safely. If you're in Florida and you were impacted by Hurricane Milton, I hope you all are doing great. I really do appreciate all of the messages. You guys have been messaging me across all social media channels and emails, just checking in on me and sending me well wishes that we get through this. So I'm just gonna walk around, show you guys what happened. I have my dog with me, Teddy. So if you hear weird noises, that's probably him. He's kind of going crazy right now. He's super happy that we're back home. I had to leave him because I've never traveled with my dog before, so I didn't really know like how to bring him on a plane and find a hotel. I could barely find a hotel anyways, so we left him with family here. So I will never do that again. I felt so bad. But anyways, I'm going to start at one end of my garden and just it's kind of a U-shaped garden, so we'll just go to the other side. I have scissors with me so I can prune off like damaged parts of plants and stuff as I see them. And zip ties, because zip ties is what keeps my garden together. Basically everything is zip tied. This cattle panel trellis is zip tied to T-post, and I have a bunch of different other types of trellises that I use where I just zip tie things together. So yeah, just some little tools here to kind of repair a couple things. But yeah, I just got started, so no worries. This is just very casual. There's no topic besides me going around. And I welcome you guys to share your tips as well. Like, what are you guys doing to recover after a hurricane or even just a really bad storm in the garden, or flooding? A lot of people were impacted by this, not just people in Florida, and the previous Hurricane Helene, that caused a lot of damage to many states. So yeah, just chit-chatting, helping each other out, giving each other ideas. I am live streaming on my phone and it's hard to read the chat sometimes, so forgive me. I've noticed some people commented like I missed your question, or do I even look at it? I do. I will try to remember to take breaks and look more often, but it is hard to see it on the phone. It's like really small and I have to like scroll through it. It's kind of annoying, but that's how it is. But anyways, thank you for loving my channel. I've been gardening all my life, and when I created this channel and when I come up with ideas for my content, it's always with the viewpoint of like, what do I like to watch and what do I think is the most helpful, and that's the kind of content that I like to put out there. So anyways, let's get started. This is one side of my garden. Before I left, we evacuated Wednesday. We were lucky to get some airfare. Ended up going to New York, and we had a great time in New York. Well, with my son, he's never been in a city like that, so we took him around everywhere. But before I left, everything was gorgeous. Like, seriously, this is the best time of gardening for, hot climate gardeners in Florida and stuff like that. So this cattle panel trellis, let me turn, it is covered in a couple different Seminole pumpkin vines. And it just overtook the entire trellis. It was lush and green, and I came back and I'm kind of just shocked. The plants aren't dead. That's another question some people were asking me, like, how do I know, this plant is dead? Like, what do I do? Honestly, leave it for like a week or two and see what happens. That's the only thing you could do. I would not go in there and like start pruning things out or, taking whole plants out until you're absolutely sure it's dead, right? So, and a lot of things, as long as the root system is intact and maybe even the main stem, it'll just resprout. Like tomatoes, for example, if the root system is still there, the main stem is still there, even though I'll show you guys my tomato plants in a bit. They're obliterated. They're like shredded up. They will resprout and grow new vines and stuff. So I'm not going to just yank those plants out. These Seminole pumpkin is a vining squash. I can see the main stems, the roots, all of that are still green and healthy. They haven't died back. I lost a lot of foliage. It's weird. They look wilted, but it's not because they didn't have water. It's because they literally just got bashed and battered and like damaged. That's what it looks like. So I know that a lot of these leaves are just dying off because they were damaged, but the vines themselves, the root system is still intact and it will grow more vines. It's definitely going to delay my harvest, but luckily my first winter frost isn't until the very end of December. So I'm going to fertilize this really well, cut off any like severely damaged parts. And when you prune things, that also stimulates the plant to grow as well. So yeah, pruning can work really well, for damaged plants. It stimulates hormones in the plant, like growth hormones, basically. When a plant feels like it's been damaged or cut, it's going to put out a lot of growth hormones at the tips and vines and all of that to stimulate new healthy growth. So fertilize your plants as well when you prune them. That way you can, facilitate all of that new healthy growth. And I just want to say, I see your comment, Sandra. I'm very lucky. Like, this is the worst damage I've ever seen in my garden ever. I've been living here for 8 years. But regardless, I'm very, very lucky. Like, I feel almost silly complaining about it because there's people that have lost everything, their homes, everything. My home, everything is fine. I didn't even get flooding. We got really lucky with the direction that the hurricane came. It actually, there's still flooding in places, but like it pulled water away from the coast and like the beaches, I don't know what the word is, but like the shorelines like went out, right? It was dry instead of it pushing all the water inward into the land and like flooding like what happened with Hurricane Helene. Areas still got a lot of flooding because of the rain, but at least that part of it was not as bad. So every hurricane is different. Like, you honestly don't know what's going to happen. I thought this was going to be really bad, and I'm born and raised here in Florida. All right. So when I'm worried, it's bad. The only thing I could compare it to was Hurricane Charlie in 2004 was the absolute worst hurricane I've ever been through. And that's what I was expecting. So, at least in my area, the damage wasn't as bad as like Charlie or whatever, but that's what we thought. That's why we decided to evacuate and actually leave. Also, I don't have stuff to board my windows. I am definitely going to get that taken care of now as soon as I can find supplies and everything and figure out an easy way to board up windows, because I am not a handy crafty person. Neither is my husband. We don't know how to build stuff, so I have to come up with a easy way. But anyways, this whole thing was full of Seminole pumpkins. I see the plants very damaged, but they're going to survive. I still have 2 or 3 months until my first frost, so I just know by giving it some good fertilizer, it should bounce back and I should get a harvest. It's not going to be as big, because it definitely set back the plant a couple weeks at least, but it's something instead of nothing. Yes, I'm in Orlando, Florida. I'm zone 10A for your reference. I've been living in Central Florida my whole life, born and raised here. I lived in Texas for 3 years. So same zone, but different climate and different winter frost dates and all of that. It definitely was colder and stuff. So zones are not that important. You need to know your frost dates. Okay, that's what dictates everything. But anyway, so this will green back up. One of my tricks during the fall or sorry, I am I'm in Florida, guys. The road is like literally right behind me, so it gets loud sometimes. So I apologize. But and I totally lost what I was saying. That totally distracted me. But yeah, I'm in Orlando. Oh, okay. Thank you for your tips. If you didn't come in earlier, I said if you guys have tips for how do you recover your garden after a bad storm, cold, frost, hurricanes, flooding, just put it in there so we can all get some ideas and kind of learn from this. I was saying, one of my tips for fall gardening, specifically because it's hurricane season, if you're in a hurricane prone area, is if like parts of your land flood or that's a concern, plant things in grow bags because it elevates the plant's root ball and everything up higher from the ground, unless you have like really tall raised beds or something like that. But I don't. I actually pulled out a lot of my raised beds because I developed my soil so much over the years using wood chips, and I have a whole YouTube tutorial about how I get wood chips for free and use it around the garden. So I ended up just pulling out my raised beds. But during the fall, I know hurricanes are coming, that's a concern, and flooding. So I use a lot of grow bags. So like literally, my phone's on the stand, so I'm trying my best. I have a remnants of a raised bed here. There's like a square, it's probably like 8 inches. But I just covered it with this heavy duty weed blocker material and kind of put this bed to rest. It's also a way to do crop rotation if you have a very small garden. Put the bed to rest, put some weed blocker material, and then put a bunch of grow bags on top of it so that you can continue growing. You're not losing your growing space, but the soil can take a rest and you can just kind of grow for a season or two in the grow bags. And it also helps if you're in like a flooding prone area and it's hurricane season. So I literally just covered this little raised bed area with a ton of rows of grow bags. And that's probably what saved my plants, to be honest with you, during this hurricane and Helene and everything. I look like Eminem. I'm not blonde though, but I don't think he's a real blonde either. What do I do for a living? So I work at a pharmacy. I work with insurance and contracting and that kind of thing, and I work from home. I've been doing that for many, many years. And I have a degree in health services administration and all of that. But it's not what I'm passionate about. I've been growing things my entire life since I was a little kid. I've just always loved doing it. And no matter where I lived, I always was growing something. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I started making videos because my husband told me, he's like, you really should put your garden stuff somewhere online. And I was like, no one wants to see pictures of my plants, okay? But I did, and people started finding me and they liked the information I provided. And I didn't know that I could be a teacher for gardening. Never thought I was a teacher kind of person. But I guess people really resonate with how I present the information and that kind of stuff. And it just took off from there. And then a couple years into just posting stuff online, I opened a whole nursery business. So out of my own little backyard, patio, I have plants and stuff, and I have a website where I sell it all, and I'm on Etsy too, but my website's way better than Etsy. Yeah, I built the website myself. Like I don't have employees. It's a small business. I'm hoping to go full-time into this because this is what I'm passionate about, and I feel like it's doing good for other people in the world in some little way, and quit my job at some point and go full-time into this. So that's where I'm at right now. But occasionally I do get help though. Like my brother's girlfriend will help me pack seeds and orders sometimes. But mostly I'm the one packaging the orders and shipping them out. I come up with all the ideas for my YouTube videos. I mean, there's always something going on in the garden. The ideas are endless. I film them all. I used to be a wedding photographer way back in the day, so that definitely helps me with like the video part of all of this and photos and stuff. But yeah, that's where I come from anyways. Thank you so much. I try to make videos of like, what do I wish I knew when I started gardening, like about these plants or, techniques and stuff like that. When I started, there there was no internet. There was no YouTube channel I could watch and learn. None of that. So that's kind of like what I think about when I put these videos together. But anyways, so yeah, this is one section of my garden. We have a big cattle panel trellis here, a bunch of grow bags. My pepper, there's a bunch of peppers and eggplants in here, different varieties, basically in these grow bags. Well, actually, you know, a little bit towards the end of this month, I'll start planting brassicas. And last year I planted them in the grow bags and they did great too. So everything can grow in grow bags. Let me pause real quick just to look at the chat and see if there's any questions. Amy, I see your comment there about your cucumbers, cantaloupes. I don't know if you were in here when I was discussing, this is my Seminole pumpkin. And it's similar to your cucumbers and cantaloupe. It got battered. The leaves are wilted because they just got battered and damaged. But the root system is healthy and green. The main stems, the stalks, the bigger, you know, like vines are still healthy and green. It's just the leaves. The leaves just got damaged. So as long as that is still healthy, it's going to sprout new vines and leaves and all of that. So don't yank your plant out just yet. I'll give it a week or two until you know for sure, okay, this is going to survive or this is going to die. I'm going to fertilize mine really well. Check on it every day, make sure it's getting enough water and that kind of thing, and just kind of nurture it back, or try to anyways. But anyways, so this is one section. This behind me here is my Thai double blue butterfly pea plant. This has been growing here for like 3 years maybe. This was a magnolia tree and it completely like overtook it, and I'm totally fine with that. For me, what's important are plants and trees that provide something. A magnolia tree is pretty and it has flowers, but it doesn't provide like something edible or medicinal. So I am totally fine with this Thai double blue butterfly pea plant overtaking it. And by the way, some people were asking me in the other live, I do sell seeds and plants for this. I don't have plants right now. The seeds, I have to package them up. So I have more now. The pods were drying. I harvested a whole bunch. So if you were looking to buy some of those, they're coming. Give me like a day or two. I need to get caught up on orders. I couldn't ship for like almost a week. So I'm really backed up. Tomorrow is all about packing orders. I pulled all the plants off my website because I didn't know what I was going to come home to, if they were going to be healthy or damaged. So I got to count and kind of look at everything and put the plants back up on my website too. So more to come. It's going to take a while. But anyway, so this made it through, no problem, no damage. It's blooming like nothing happened. So one thing I want to stress about gardening, because a lot of people were saying things like, oh my God, it's hurricane season. I'm afraid to garden. I'm afraid to plant anything because, you know, if a hurricane comes, it'll destroy everything. Or I see people say, oh, I'm afraid to plant something because we could get an early winter this year. You know, if that's your mindset, you're never going to plant anything because every year is different. I would say 85-90% of the time it works out and you get something, your garden's great. And then the other time it's some freak accident, something happens. Maybe, you know, it was extra cold, or we got a heat wave or a hurricane or whatever. And that's just how it is. So don't ever feel discouraged to plant. Like you just don't know what's going to happen, and most of the time it works out fine. So even though I am a little discouraged looking at all of this, you know, I put so much work into planting everything, and I was going to start harvesting soon, you know, within maybe a month or two, like massive harvest of everything, and I'm definitely set back. But that's how it is. It's just how it is. So don't feel discouraged. Don't give up. It's more often than not, it's good. This is another planting area. This looks like a jungle. It's hard for me to even tell what's what. So this is another trellis thing full of loofah, like my giant loofahs. I want to grab one to show you guys. So I have this loofah variety. It's called giant light green loofah. I have seeds on my website. It's my favorite. Like, don't even try to grow the other ones. Just go for this one. Let me flip over here. because it is giant. And if you like to grow loofah for the sponges, this is the best variety for the sponges because they're massive. This one's drying out. I like to wait for them to be a little bit more brown than this before I harvest. But massive, they're thick. The sponges inside is nice and thick for like crafts. We make soap bars with them. I mean, it's the best for cleaning, all of that. You know, these are small for this variety here. But this whole thing was covered in these giant loofahs. And they're okay. Like, you know, the loofah themselves, they're in the process of drying out, so they're not going to die. The vines are definitely affected. My trellis fell even a little bit. But it's not dead. This is a bunch of papalo. I had a YouTube tutorial about papalo. It's a substitute for cilantro, and it's an herb, one of the few like herbs that will actually grow straight through the summer here in Florida. It tastes very similar to cilantro. It's very hard to find seeds, so I know a lot of people were waiting for me to restock. So I was happy to come home to see a bunch of the seed pods already. So I'll be harvesting all that. But so this area has loofah, papalo growing all over the place, and Thai soldier long beans. That's another one that I'm out of stock of the seeds. And I'll be restocking very soon. Back here, by the way, I could not find enough sandbags. So I got bags of the cheapest compost I can find, which is what I use in my garden all over the place anyways. So we use that compost there. So a couple bags to just kind of protect my porch and stuff from flooding, because that can happen sometimes. So yeah, so this whole area looks obliterated. But that's what I have in there. Loofah in the back, papalo going to seed all over in the center here. And then I have some Thai soldier long beans. You can't see it. It's growing all over, and it was growing up these 10-foot T-posts. But your banana tree was fruiting and destroyed with the hurricane. Yeah, that's going to happen because the weight of the banana rack definitely causes like that imbalance, and it's very easy for those banana plants to fall over, and there's really nothing you can do about it unless you want to put T-posts everywhere and tie up your banana stalks to the T-post, but that's really, really hard to do as well. You know, and it sucks because they start forming those banana racks towards like the end of summer, and it takes months and months for them to ripen, and they start ripening up in the middle of winter. That's how bananas are. So if you lost the stock, you basically are going to lose the whole harvest for this winter. That's just how it is. I came home to a bunch of papaya trees, a couple of them. They're young too. They're not even, this is a cluster of them. And a couple of them were like bent down. I just picked them up and stomped like with my foot the soil around it to kind of compact it and kind of hopefully stabilize them a little bit. I have papayas. This is a dwarf variety of papaya called Dwarf Red Lady. I actually have plants on my website. Not yet. I gotta go check out my plants and update my inventory right now. But so this is a dwarf variety, and I really like the dwarf, not just because I have a very small garden, and so I have a tendency to choose dwarf cultivars, but because it's dwarf and it's kind of fatter and thicker and shorter, it helps when you're gardening, you know, and growing it in a hurricane area, that it minimizes the amount of plants that will fall down. Mine fell down, but they're also like in like an old whiskey barrel and stuff, so they're not like plugged into the ground. But that can help, you know, if you're in a hurricane prone area, growing dwarf varieties of things just because they're shorter and they kind of stay a little bit more stable. What fertilizer do I use for, you know, pruning and trying to get things to come back to life? I love organic granular fertilizers. It doesn't matter the brand. My dog's going crazy. I don't know why he does that. Let's see if he comes back. He'll just start running around like really aggressively. I don't know what that means. But anyways, so I like organic granular fertilizers like Job's brand, Espoma. They have Espoma brand has Garden Tone, which is just a generic fertilizer. That's really great. Because I grow so many tomatoes, I always have bags and bags of Espoma tomato tone on hand, and I end up pretty much using that on everything. I do use liquid fertilizer sometimes. All my tomatoes right now are connected to my drip irrigation system that has a fertilizer mixing attachment. So I pour in water soluble liquid fertilizer into that tank. It mixes it and then shoots it through my drip irrigation lines. And for that, I use AgroThrive, which is an inorganic liquid fertilizer as well. And you can get all that stuff on Amazon. So yeah, let's keep going. This area, I got a bunch of different fruit trees. I just planted these smaller papayas. This is a guava. I think it's Ruby Supreme or one of those pink ones. That was fallen over too when I arrived today. So I just propped it back up. This is that, I forget the name, the Hawaiian flower that they use to make lays. This is a white flower. It's a little bit damaged. This is a Jabuticaba. She's completely fine. My arbor, we had to put everything away, you know, so it doesn't fly. I have muscadine grapes growing on this arbor, but I'm going to be moving them to a bigger garden, so we kind of cut those down. How do I start over here? This is like my fruit tree line. Most of these are just all dwarf different fruit trees. That's behind me is a nectarine and peach, which I have videos about growing peaches. That's the same peach tree, and also pruning it. That's the same peach tree that I pruned in July. Look at it. It's looks like I never pruned it because I hacked that thing like by half, so they grow back really quickly. This is a dwarf cherry mango tree. She seems fine. I was very sad to come home to, I don't know the name of this plant. I got it from Cody Cove Farms. Maybe one of you know what I'm talking about. It's a daisy. It looks like a daisy. It's a big, huge, bushy. It looks like a daisy, and it smells like mint chocolate chip. This thing, it's kind of a hard plant to find. This brown here, this dead brown, was that plant. That plant was like 10, 12 feet tall. They bloom in spring. So I was, you know, obviously the bigger the plant, the more blooms you're going to get. So I was so excited for this plant. And it literally looks like lightning struck it and all the branches just went like flat. I don't know. This is another example, I guess, for you guys of how do I know this plant is dead? Should I pull it out? Whatever. I don't know how well you guys can see. Sorry, I try my best. But yeah, this whole thing is dead. If you want to check if a plant like is alive or not, because maybe it's just the tips, right? Maybe the tips got damaged, or you know, if a cold front comes through, usually the cold damage will start on the tips of your plant. So the tips will get damaged, but the rest of it is okay. You can take like a little cutting. This still looks green in here, so this is not dead. This whole stalk is not dead. It's just the stress, the damage, the leaves have died. So I could prop this back up. I'm pretty sure that's going to survive. It looks like it's dead, but the inside is still green. Another thing you can do instead of cutting the tip is just take your fingernail and scratch the trunk, rub some of that outer bark or whatever away. If it's still green, it's still alive. So don't go around removing all your plants until you know they're dead. So there's one of the main stalks right here. I don't know. Very weird. It just literally had a bunch of stalks in the middle, and I come home and they're all like laid flat around. But I'm gonna prop it back up. I'm sure she'll survive and bloom for me coming in spring, I hope. Before we make it this way, let me go back because I have on both sides stuff growing. This is 2 raised beds that I made out of pressure treated wood. Behind me is Tromboncino rapicante. That is my absolute favorite zucchini type thing to grow. That is a zucchini that looks like a baseball bat. And I actually have one that is forming. So I'm excited to come home to that because I thought it was going to like fall off and die. But this looks almost untouched. I'm surprised. Maybe because it's on the side of the house, but I don't know how well you guys can see this. Here it is right here. And they get bigger than this. They literally get like the size of a baseball bat. But you can harvest this when it's green, like a light green, and use it just like zucchini. I like the texture even better than zucchini because it's not as watery and it has like a buttery flavor to it. If you let the whole thing like mature, it kind of looks like a really long butternut squash because the skin gets tan and hard just like butternut squash. The inside gets orange like it, and use it just like butternut squash. So very versatile plant to grow. You can use it as like a zucchini or as like a full-on butternut squash, depending on when you decide to harvest it. And I definitely have seeds for that on my website. I grow it all the time. And it's a super pest resistant type of squash. So there's this group of squash, winter squash, zucchinis, summer squash, all that. They're in the Cucamelons family, and then there's different subgroups. So this group, Cucamelons moscata, which is this tromboncino rapicante, Seminole pumpkin, they have really hard woody stems, so it makes it harder for like the vine borers, squash bugs, all of that to like mess with it. I mean, it will still get them, but they don't like this plant, this group of squash, as compared to other types of squashes. So the leaves look pretty good. Like, I haven't sprayed with BT or anything to kill for worms in a long time. These leaves are extra thick, hard. They even have like little spines. And that's why people say grow Seminole pumpkins, grow tromboncino, because they're in that Cucamelons moscata family. They're just extra harder varieties to kind of help you if you're really struggling with those pests. So, I think, Rosalind, when I said BT, I think is what you mean, Bacillus thuringiensis spray, that is what I use to treat for any kind of worm damage. So if you have a worm chewing type of insect chewing up the leaves, it could be on your squash, your watermelons, your broccoli plants, kale. That's what I use. So I will spray with BT. And it's a natural bacteria. It's an organic spray. When you coat the leaves with it, those worms will chew these leaves, ingest that bacteria. It disrupts their digestive system and it kills them. It's very effective. It works like next day. Very safe product. But I only use it obviously when I see the damage. Like, there's no, like, don't be spraying all your plants just because. Like, only do it if you actually have damage. But I do see a little bit of chewing here. And what I've noticed is when I get a lot of rain, for some reason, those worms kind of wake up and go crazy. So knowing that we just got hit with a hurricane and there's rain, I need to be extra vigilant, knowing that those worms are probably going to have a little population spike or something. But anyways, the veggie I can treat like a butternut squash, tromboncino rapicante. I do have seeds on my website. My website is jarasgarden.com. I grow this all the time. It's awesome, very versatile, very tough plant. I'm not saying you're not going to ever get the pests with it, but it can handle a lot more pest damage before ultimately just dying out. So, yep, it's pretty good variety for hot climates or climates with high disease and pest pressure. Also the diseases too. I mean, it will get powdery mildew eventually, but these, I don't even have powdery mildew right now, and that says a lot because all the rain we just got repeatedly. We got Hurricane Helene, then we got Hurricane Milton. So your diseases and your pests are about to go crazy. Just keep that in mind. For controlling powdery mildew and all of that, any leaf disease, let me just say that, any leaf disease, I use one treatment, because leaf diseases are a bacteria, a mold, or a virus sometimes that proliferate, spread their spores, just like pathogens that make humans sick. Those are pathogens that make the plants sick, right? And they attach to the surface of the leaves and they spread from there. So I just spray with 1 cup of hydrogen peroxide per gallon of water, and that's the 3% hydrogen peroxide. And if I know, we just got dumped with a lot of rain, I will do that as a preventative. So I'll spray all my plants just knowing that those pathogens, water makes them like proliferate, grow, spread, humidity does, all that kind of stuff. That I would do as a preventative. But I don't like spraying insecticides or any of that kind of stuff as a preventative, only if I actually have an issue. And I still use organic things, but I just don't like to spray unless necessary. So that's this is a whole cattle panel trellis right there, full of tromboncino. I also have red Malabar spinach on here. That's a great leafy green for hot climates. It grows like crazy. It's a very beautiful plant too. I like to eat the younger tender leaves because this can have kind of like a mucus texture that some people don't like. But if you pick the younger leaves, it has less of that. This is a big lemongrass plant right here. I need to divide it. It's massive, so yeah, I need to divide it into different plants. So let me just turn around, go to the next bed. So this was the tromboncino bed with the cattle panel trellis. I have another bed right here, looks like a mess, with another cattle panel trellis. This behind me is snake bean gourd. So one of my favorite things to do is educate people on the weird crops and veggies that are not very common in like American cuisine or gardening. And the reason for that is because, well, my family's from the Dominican Republic, so I have been exposed, so to speak, to lots of different veggies and tropical things that the standard American diet doesn't really know much about. But those plants grow awesome in the southern parts of the United States or hot climates and stuff like that. So I try my best to put tutorials out there and information about these lesser known plants. So Indian snake bean is a gourd. It's technically a gourd. It grows really, really long. It looks like a snake. And I've even been scared knowing that I'm growing this. It still scares me sometimes when I look at it. But it tastes like the best green bean you will ever have. And I know that sounds weird, but it's very delicious. It's a heat-loving tropical plant. Not a lot of pests and diseases like to bother it. So that's why I like to grow it. And I hope to get a harvest from it. It doesn't seem like it got much damage at all. And then I can do a whole tutorial showing you guys, you know, what it looks like, how to eat it, and that kind of stuff. So really good choice if you're in the South. During the summer, we can't grow traditional like bush beans and stuff like that because they don't like that kind of high heat. So I will switch to alternatives like the Indian snake bean or yard-long beans. That's another alternative there. So yeah, and then in front of it, I've got more papalo. I've got African blue basil. I think this is a petunia. Not really sure. I forget the name of this flower. I've got beautyberry here for the birds. You guys can't even see. There's some beautyberries right there. It's important to attract the wildlife to your garden. The birds, I know sometimes they'll peck your like tomatoes or whatever, but they eat an enormous amount of pests. So, and I find they leave my tomatoes alone for the most part. What they're looking for is water. They're thirsty, so they will peck into the tomatoes for a drink. So put some water features around so that they can have some water, and they typically leave my tomatoes alone at that point. But anyway, so this is it for what's up against my house. And then let me flip back here to my fruit trees. So this was the dwarf cherry mango. Absolutely love that one. Great flavor, texture. In the middle is a pomelo. I've heard that pomelos don't get greening as bad as like oranges. So that is maybe an alternative you might want to consider. I used to have different oranges back here and I pulled them all out because the greening was just, it's tough. Like you got to be on top with feeding your citrus like constant nutrition to kind of combat the whole greening thing. Another thing is, I was touring the Reed Farm in DeLand, Florida. They've got like a 2-acre food forest. I have a YouTube video about that too, but if you could go visit in person, even better. That it's amazing. He'll take you through his 2 acres and you get to try all the fruits and stuff. So very educational and inspiring. If you're ever in Central Florida, make a stop at the Reed Farm. But he had this gorgeous citrus tree, oranges, whatever. And I was like, the leaves were all green and glossy. I'm like, how did you do this? And he just explained that they need to be grown in some shade. A lot of people think that citrus needs full sun, but actually that full sun, especially Florida full sun, stresses the tree out. And when you're stressed, your immune system drops. Same thing to your plants. And so the immune system drops, and that citrus now becomes more susceptible to the whole issue of greening and all of that. So plant your citrus in some part shade. And actually, citrus grown in the wild, like if you're hiking in Florida and that kind of thing, and you come across a citrus tree plant, they're understory plants. They're growing underneath like oak trees and stuff like that. So try doing that. But I just gave up on them, and I got a pomelo. I've got a lemon tree. The lemons also don't get greening as bad. But yeah, no citrus for me as of now, unless I get some land and I really have more space to experiment with. This is my Mayor lemon tree. It actually looks pretty good right now. Some of the leaves definitely came off, but at least she looks good, like nice and green. This is a Namdok Mai mango. I really like the Asian mangoes, fiberless, honey sweet, so that's a great variety known for that. When is a good time to bring my broccoli and lettuce starts outside? If you're in zone 10A now, the month of October, that's what I wait for. I was actually going to start planting all of that stuff the very first weekend of October, but then with all these hurricanes and whatever, I've had to delay it. But we have plenty of time, like seriously, to even direct sow from seed at this point. So I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to start direct sowing a whole bunch of seeds. I do have trays of like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, starts. I brought all that like in my garage during the hurricane, and they're fine. So I'm going to start transplanting those out at this point. If you plant too many trees, snakes come and hide in them. The snakes are going to come regardless. I'm in Florida and I do not like snakes, but I do have a little black garden snake that lives here. And I do see him every now and then, and I don't like him. Don't like him, but that's part of life. I don't think having trees or not is going to change any of that. But somebody had explained to me, someone who's more of an expert on snakes than me, that they're territorial. So if you have a friendly garden snake, which by the way, they eat rats, mice. I don't have a problem with rodents, probably because of that snake. They eat a lot of pests and stuff too. They're territorial, so they will also keep out like the other snakes, so the bad ones, right? So when they explained that to me, I was like, okay, he's harmless, he's in here, whatever, but he keeps the bad ones away. So I've kind of like adjusted and accepted him. But I don't think having trees or not is going to deter snakes if you live in a snake-prone area. They're everywhere. Like my aunt has a couple acres of land, no trees, like in the middle, like open field. You still find snakes everywhere when I go there. So I'm zone 10A. I'm in Orlando, Florida. All right. Shamu, just read your comment that you planted. I'm glad you did. Don't be afraid by these hurricanes. I know they say there's more out there. You never know. It might not even affect us. You know, just keep planting. We're lucky we have such a long growing season that if something happens, you can just replant. Okay. So, yeah. So that's some of my trees. This is a Brogdon avocado. I'm glad it didn't get damaged. That's one of the better tasting, like Haas type of avocados. This is a Super Haas avocado. I had it tied to a T-post, and the whole thing broke off the T-post, but I'm just glad it didn't like snap at the trunk or something. As you can see, here's the T-post. Here's the T-post, and I had parachute cord that I get from Home Depot all wrapped around it, and it held. There's avocados on it right now that I haven't harvested yet, because I kind of harvest as needed with this tree. Actually, next week's video is about growing avocados, and I talk more about these trees and stuff, but a lot of these avocados hung despite the winds and stuff. Above us, I have like my moringa trees. They're shredded. Look at that. There's barely any leaves. So when I know a hurricane's coming, I will hurry up and harvest, obviously, leaves from my moringa and stuff, knowing that it's just going to get blown away. You can grow fruit trees in anything if you want to. So get a big container. Like if I had to grow this avocado in a container, get a dwarf variety for one, and I don't know, put it in a 20 gallon, 25 gallon, something like that, and you'll be able to grow it. I think that's a misconception, and a lot of people think you need a lot of space to grow fruit trees. If you've noticed this whole line here, they're like 6 foot apart, 8 foot apart. Yeah, if you're a home backyard gardener and you get dwarf trees, you can cram them in very close. They're not going to compete for nutrition if you're good with fertilizing them every now and then. And also, as just a home gardener, you do not want huge trees. You don't want huge avocado trees or mango trees, because then it's hard to harvest the top. You get a lot of fruit that rots and it attracts bugs and critters and stuff. You don't want that. So you want smaller trees, therefore you can fit them in. Like, prune the heck out of them, keep them small. That's how you can get away with planting a lot of fruit trees close. Right here, I have 2 different varieties of lychee or lychee. I don't know which way is the correct way of saying it. I mispronounce a lot of things. If I cared too much about it, I wouldn't make videos anymore, because people are always correcting me. But I don't know why I say things the way I say them, but that's how it is. So these are my rows of tomatoes. I'm obsessed with growing tomatoes. If you've been following me for some time, you know they're my favorite thing to grow. So this is pretty bad. They were flowering, starting to, produce fruit. I'm even surprised that the trellis systems came off the T-post, because I had them zipped up with zip ties. Oh, you didn't even see that, but let me move this. So I just took a bunch of T-posts in a line, and I zip tied trellis material. This is fencing, rolls of fencing. Like if you have a small car and you can't fit like a cattle panel trellis or have them delivered to your house, go get some rolls of fencing. You can probably throw that in your trunk. But yeah, I'm surprised that it broke off, but the T-posts are still in their spot. Some people ask me, do these like fall over in a hurricane or something? At least in Central Florida, I've never had them fall over, but if you're on the coast, that's a whole different story. You guys get flooding so bad, it saturates the ground, things start falling over. So I don't know about that, but I know at least for me here in Central Florida, they hold up. So I'm gonna have to obviously fix this. The leaves are pretty shredded and damaged and bruised. There's nothing I can do except prune and fertilize. So that's what I'm gonna be doing starting tomorrow. And yeah, I'm definitely a setback from being just a couple weeks away from being able to start harvesting some tomatoes. And I have a lot of variety, every season I'm planting new varieties. I have a lot of rare ones, a lot of Italian ones, because I love like special rare heirloom Italian tomatoes. This one held on to some flowers. This is a tomato. This is a hybrid, actually. I don't grow very many hybrids, but every now and then I do like to experiment. This one is called Cherry Bomb. And if you've ever gone to the grocery store and you see those really expensive flavor bombs, cherry tomatoes, people say that this is the seed for it, the Cherry Bomb F1 hybrid tomato. So that's why I wanted to grow it. And I came home and look, she had a couple little cherry tomatoes for me. Let me try it. It does taste like those flavor bombs, actually. It's really good. It's a good little cherry tomato right there. I don't know why my dog is crying, but if you hear him, he's crying behind me. And this one here is called Mountain Magic, which is similar to the Campari tomatoes, like another really expensive tomato at the grocery store. So if you want to try growing that one, look for Mountain Magic F1 hybrid. Where did I order the weed barrier? From Amazon. If you go in the description of this live, I think at the very bottom of it, it says find supplies that I use in my garden. There's a link to my Amazon list, or I don't know what you call it. And there is a whole section for weed barrier, because I've tried so many different kinds of weed barrier. This is the DeWitt brand. I think it's called like Sunbelt or something. This is the best. Don't waste your money on other stuff. This is the best. Okay. I use this a lot to help me control the weed situation. Do I still have my Cucamelons? Actually, I do. I was kind of worried. I actually started growing them in that green stalk garden tower right there. They're at the top there. I direct sowed seeds in there, and I just figured they would grow, and it's a small plant. Like the vines are very small, the leaves are small, but that thing gets huge. Like, I don't know, 8 feet, bushy, all that. So I know it's gonna like cascade and fill that whole tower. So that'll look really cool. Surprisingly, none of these towers fell during the hurricane. I put them up against my house. They're not strapped on or tied to anything, and they didn't fall. So that was good. Back here, I did have 2 more towers. I took those apart because one is full of green beans, one is full of different cucumbers, and I didn't want that to fall over and break. So I got to put that back together. I'm very happy to report that my Indian snake cucumber, so I grow Indian snake bean and Indian snake cucumber, survived. I was really worried about that one. Let me see if I can show you guys this. So this is another lesser known crop in the United States that grows very well in hot climates, and it's a substitute for cucumbers. So if you struggle with growing cucumbers because of all the pests, diseases, all that, grow Indian snake cucumbers instead. And this does taste like cucumber. Like this is actually where you would want to harvest it, but I need seeds. I'm out of stock of seeds, so I'm trying to grow more seeds so that you guys can get some. So I have to let this, like, it's going to get all yellow and gross, but that's how it goes. But this is where you would want, this is perfect for eating right now. And it just tastes like a very mild, light, crispy cucumber. This is actually the first time, this year was the first time I've ever grown this, and I was very, very, very happy about this. And the leaves look great. Does have some damage, but for the most part, the pests and stuff that attack cucumbers don't like this one as much. I'm not saying you're not going to get them ever, but it definitely has some kind of resistances or something. They just don't favor this one. You know, bugs have favorite foods just like humans do. So, you know, they'll go for one plant before they'll start going for others. But this is a great crop to grow if you struggle growing cucumbers. It's just a little bit extra heavy, not heavy duty, but like it's a tougher type of plant. All right, so yeah, these are my rows of tomatoes. They will recover. I'm just going to be definitely set back on harvesting. I was hoping to start harvesting before my first winter frost, because then it doesn't get cold enough in my garden to kill the tomato plants. The coldest it gets is like 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and it only lasts for like an hour or two. It's not long enough to like really cause a lot of damage. So I know my tomato plants are going to, they'll survive, but they slow down growing and they slow down ripening up. So they'll have fruit on them, but if it's cold, it just takes forever for that fruit to ripen up. If it's warmer, it speeds up ripening. So that just delays even more like when I'll be able to harvest. So yeah, they don't look good. Lots of branches just snapped. You know, I gotta cut them off. If you have branches snapped on your plants, just cut them off. They're not gonna heal. They're just dying, and they're taking away energy from the rest of the plant, the healthy parts, and from it, you know, recovering. I'm trying to show you guys, but yeah, clear just snapped right off. So that I will have to carefully come through here tomorrow, cut off. That's why I brought my scissors actually, but I'll do it tomorrow. It's actually starting to get a little dark now, but I will come in through tomorrow and just kind of cut off all these snapped branches that are just taking energy away from my plant. Do I have cooking videos? I do. I have a playlist where I put all like my cooking recipe videos, because, you know, I show a lot of weird fruits and veggies and stuff, and then no one knows what to do with them. So I try to like share that information as well. So I definitely have a playlist on my channel. It says recipes and stuff. I'm considering starting a whole different channel though for putting recipes and all of that kind of stuff, just to keep things separate. That's usually what YouTubers do. So maybe, I don't know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work just having one channel. So dogs do like vegetables. If you watch another big YouTuber, James Pigeroni, I don't know, I forget the name of his channel. But his dog, Tuck, is a little Yorkie, goes around and eats all the vegetables, which I think is cool. But my dog doesn't seem to like that as much. He likes apples, though, and watermelon. So, I don't know. Oh, my Roselle. You brought my Roselle up. My Roselle is, sorry, I hit a pole there. Obliterated. I'll show you. I'm walking over there now. So my Roselle plants are about to start producing because this is the time of the year. They are triggered to start flowering and producing when the daylight hours decrease and fall. I don't know if you can see those twigs there. That's what's left of my Roselle plants. So they were like 10 feet tall. They were massive, and the bigger the plant, the more flowers, the more harvest. So I was like, yes, this year is going to be a great harvest. I even tied them to T-posts, everything, trying to save them, but it looks like a mess. The whole trunk is cut, like, I don't know, this whole area is a mess. I got to clean it out anyways, because I'm going to start direct sowing seeds, but you know, my Roselle was growing there, it looked great. I'm just going to yank the whole thing out. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing to do about that. All right. I'm sorry. I have to pause to like read the comments. And I'm sorry, guys. It is very hard talking, moving around, and also trying to keep track with the comments and questions. I promise I'm not ignoring you or whatever. If I missed your question, please feel free to enter it again or send me an email at the end of this. I hate missing people's questions, but it's just hard to keep up with it all. But yeah, my Roselle is gone. I don't even think I want to like try to save it at this point, because if it's not producing by this point, like, that's it. Like, once the cold starts coming, it starts dying, declining. It does not like the cold, and that's it. And I don't think my Roselle plants are going to be able to recover and then start blooming before that happens. So that one, I actually think I'll just pull out and plant a lot of cool season stuff. So this is a mess, and I had to like store away a lot of my fruit trees that I haven't planted yet. They're still in like pots. They're there. They look miserable. It's a mess. That's a big mess. Yeah. But this is let me try to position the camera here. My passion fruit, my giant yellow Brazilian passion fruit, is great. I was explaining in another video how vigorous passion fruit is, for one, but it's overtaken this whole section, at least 50 feet long in vines. Passion fruit is a monster. Like, if you don't have space for that, don't grow it. Just don't. But I think that really, just being so big and like blocky, it just didn't get damaged. Like, the winds just went over it. Probably protected my fence a lot too from blowing out. And this one, I don't even like passion fruit juice. I don't really like the sour stuff, like the sour fruits and stuff. But this one I like. It's still sour, but it's not like, I don't know, it's smoother. It's different. I don't know how to explain it. And it's kind of a rare one. I do have seeds, but I'm out. So I will have seeds soon because I'm about to start harvesting. Let me see if I can find one. Here's the flower, by the way. Like, the flowers just look so cool, and the pollinators love them. You guys can see that. Just beautiful, beautiful flowers. Let me find some of the fruits. Saw a whole cluster of them over here. So it's a giant yellow cultivar. I think there is another variety that's even bigger, the Granadilla or something. Dang, where do I have some hanging here? Well, I'm trying to grab one here. There's one. It's not yellow yet. This one still is growing. So, they're huge though. Here's another one. This one's more on the way. Someone made a comment once that they don't see weeds in my garden. It looks so clean and organized. That is not true. Okay, there's no such thing as a weed-free garden. I don't know how people do that. I don't have hope. And so that's why I use weed blocker material just as a way to help myself out, like controlling things here. I'm in Florida. Things get to be a jungle in like 2 weeks. Like, it's insane. So I definitely like to use the weed blocker material. But anyways, I'm glad that the passion fruits clung to the vine. They are growing. I don't see any more. Yeah, I never see them when I'm looking for them, but as I'm like walking by, I'll notice random, oh, here's like 3 of them. So I like gardening. It's like a surprise. Every day you come out and find a surprise. I hate positioning the camera, but that's how it goes. Hopefully there's no snake back here. But he's just afraid of me as I am him. But look at those. And there's a third one over here too. So these should be ready in like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks or so when they turn like really, really yellow. But yeah, guys, that is it. This is my garden as of today. I have a lot of work to do, cleaning up, trimming, fertilizing. I mean, it is what it is. And if something doesn't work out, you just plant again. You just replant. So it's starting to get dark. I'm going to ask real quick, do you have any questions before I log off for the night? Just let me know now. What do they taste like? They taste like passion fruit juice, just, you know, your standard passion fruit. Just not as like sour acidic. It's still there, but not as strong. So I really like this one. And like one of those things produces like half a cup of juice. So it makes a lot of juice as well. Oh, thank you, Robin. I enjoy going live and talking to you guys. This was not scheduled or anything. I just threw it up there real quick because I knew like I was going to come home to a mess, and if I get to talk to you guys understand as other gardeners, right? And it would help me feel better about it, to be honest. But all right, I guess that's it. Passion fruit lemonade, that is a great idea. I don't know why I never thought about that. I am going to do that, and I'll make a recipe video. Do I have shampoo ginger? Yes. So I sell plants of shampoo ginger on my website. All the plants have been taken down from my website. I will, because of the hurricane, I just didn't want to sell plants and come home to some dead plants. So I just took them off. But tomorrow I have to pull them all out, check them, count them, all that kind of stuff, to then list them back on my website. But I have tons of shampoo ginger, like tons. They're there. I just need to relist them back. So check end of day tomorrow. But yeah, I have a big shampoo ginger patch, so a whole other side in the front of my house actually. And I just finished filming a updated tutorial about growing shampoo ginger. So that will come out within the next few weeks. It takes a while to edit things, but anyways, all right guys, do I sell onion starts? No, I don't. I start onions from seeds, and that's what I use in my garden. I do sell the seeds, but it's probably too late for anyone to be starting onions from seed right now. My website is jerrasgarden.com, Jerras garden.com. But like I said, give me a day because none of the plants are there. I have to count them and then, you know, upload, restock them basically. But yeah, I guess that's it, guys. It's starting to get pretty dark. I do have a live garden class scheduled, I think for October 20th. If you go to the live tab, it's already scheduled. You can see it. I think it's Sunday, October 20th. The topic of that live class was going to be the tomatoes. But they look really bad right now. Like I was going to give like expert tips and tricks on growing tomatoes because I've made a lot of tweaks and adjustments to the way that I grow them that has like greatly increased production. So I was going to, that class was going to be about that. But I don't know. They look pretty bad. So I might have to, I mean, I suppose I could still share the tips and stuff. We'll see. We'll see. If not, I'll have to change the subject to something else that is doing well in my garden at the time. I don't know. But anyways, thank you guys for hanging out with me and walking through my garden as it is after Hurricane Milton. I pray that all of you who are affected can get back to building, rebuilding, and just get out of that rut and start planting again. And don't give up. Don't ever give up. Don't let something scare you or worry you so much that you don't do it. And that goes for anything in life, not just gardening. So, but anyways, thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next class. Bye.